Hey, welcome back. I think the camera's on Frank right now.
All right.
Frank, welcome our audience back.
It is great to be back here on Liquid Lunch TV. I'm Frank Moreno. You're watching Newsmax. We're covering all the news that's breaking. Obviously, yesterday you had the Academy Awards, but tomorrow is the Oscars and the Super Bowl combined for partisan political junkies. It is the New Hampshire primary. A lot of people wondering how that's going to turn out. But before the weekend, Friday, we got some incredible economic news. Apparently, something like 225,000 new jobs were created, almost 100,000 more than economists actually predicted. So this economy is slowing, no signs of slowing down. A lot of people wondering what effect these economic numbers are going to have on the electoral numbers, both within the Democratic primary and, more importantly for our purposes, the general election. And here to help us break that down for us, we have Dr. Fernando Uribe, who is a distinguished professor of political science and somebody that has written and spoken about politics with a great deal of authority, not only in the Garden State, but around the country. Dr. Uribe, what do these numbers mean for the president as far as you can tell?
Well, Frank, John, thanks again for having me on.
Of course.
You know what? Seeing this report on a few different sort of websites, both the Wall Street Journal, CNBC, and seeing, again, as we mentioned before, over 250,000 new jobs. And I think it's important to sort of break it down and sort of look at the context about which sectors really benefited the most. I mean, for example, we had like a very unseasonably warm type of winter this far, so hospitality and leisure have added a lot of jobs. We've seen also transportation jobs increase sort of exponentially. And I think this spells great news for the president and certainly moving forward towards the 2020 season here as the election heats up. And what's interesting, Frank, as you mentioned before, obviously the New Hampshire primary coming up tomorrow. And again, it seems that Democrats can't get out of their own way. And when they're trying to sort of recommend sound economic policies, they don't really have that. And again, when we're looking at private sector growth, and listen, Wall Street was very, very excited with these numbers. But when we're seeing, 250,000 new jobs in this last quarter surfacing, I'm going to tell you right now, it's a great thing for workers. Maybe not here in New Jersey or New York where, the cost of living is so high. But I can tell you, I know plenty of people nationally that are benefiting from job growth, and they're working in different sectors, whether it's hospitality, whether it's other professional services, transportation, even agriculture. These jobs are growing and they're staying within the economy. And that's good news, I think, for all Americans, Frank and John.
I think, Fernando, many people have said that, this whole election this year, when all is said and done, the left is talking about, how climate change is number one. I think healthcare is going to be a big issue. The president did come out, the early stuff we're hearing on the budget is that $130 billion is going to come out of Medicare over the next 10 years, which isn't going to be a great thing for him with the older voters. But I think this economy right here, with the jobs, with the manufacturing jobs, with the growth, is a steamroller. And I don't see anybody on the left that can't even get behind one person.
No, they can't. And again, and you mentioned about healthcare. That was another sector during this past quarter that saw a lot of growth with jobs and as well. And listen, it's such an important part of our economy. And at the same time, while we're seeing more and more people involved in healthcare type of professions, we also saw, again, at the same time, transportation and warehousing. Those also increased by over 20,000 new jobs. So again, the economy is strong. And I've said it before on my podcast, I said it with you, John. While the president might not be the most appealing person to a lot of Americans, he's getting things done. And in the long run, I think come this November, that's going to help him get reelected. And as I said before, Democrats just cannot get out of their own way. They're offering free stuff. They're offering really unrealistic goals when it comes to the American economy. And Americans in the Midwest and in the South, states that they need to win, they're not buying what the Democrats are selling. I think that spells doom for the party come this November.
On Money Monday, we bring you the money guests. But Fernando, you get him here in small, bite-sized morsels. And if you want to hear him in long form and all of his thoughts, because he's great, you got to check out Politically Direct through Insider NJ. That's your podcast, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Politically Direct. And he's also a faculty member at Bergen Community College. So
how about a prediction for tomorrow? Pin him down for a prediction.
Yeah.
John.
What about tomorrow? What do you got? We have the New York Times endorsed two candidates so far, Elizabeth Warren and Amy Klobuchar. We had Iowa split between two candidates, Bernie Sanders and Pete Buttigieg. What two are going to emerge here? I'll give you two.
I would just say based on geography, it's right near Vermont, and in Massachusetts, right in the New England area. I think it'll be Bernie Sanders 1 and Elizabeth Warren 2 tomorrow in New Hampshire, John. And Frank.
The two neighboring states.
Yes,
to
correct.
New Hampshire.
Absolutely, yes.
You think they're going to have it?
I think Biden will be toast either by tomorrow or next week in South Carolina.
South Carolina could be the end for Joe Biden.
Yes.
I tend to agree with you also. And they're saying Amy Klobuchar is surging, which is strange to me, but she seems like the most sensible candidate that I've seen up there.
Which is weird in this very sort of like delusional crowd.
Without question. It's not weird when we bring you the best guests on Money Monday. That's why Fernando Uribe is here. Check out his podcast, Politically Direct, through Insider NJ. We're going to take a quick break. Last Friday, we were in Atlantic City, and we had an overabundance of great guests. So we caught up with some New Jersey Mix It Up. I'm going to bring you that right after this.